Sorry, I forgot about the 3 stripes. So building on a submission to the New South Wales Parliament Upper House inquiry into elder abuse, Seniors Rights Service and Older Women's Network New South Wales decided to collaborate to deliver a series of 11 educational forums to raise community awareness about abuse with older women. We also decided to invite the Elder Abuse Helpline and New South Wales Police to start those conversations, empower older Australians to protect themselves through knowledge and resources to do something if they're required. Depending on the representation, we had lawyers, we had advocates, we discussed financial abuse, we discussed abuse in residential aged care, we discussed abuse in home care. The police talked about their vulnerable persons unit and how they could help, and the Elder Abuse Helpline defined abuse and talked about perpetrators and the fact that most perpetrators were children, which was of interest to women. At the end of each session, we had dialogue with all the participants and got their input. So these were the sessions. Some of them were well attended, but we were surprised and disappointed by the attendance at some of the seminars. So we sought to explore that with members of the Older Women's Network, who had been the people who'd been contacted to attend, and also the attendees at the actual sessions. So the Older Women's members thought that elder abuse was an issue that didn't concern them or wasn't going to happen to them, and that's why they didn't attend. The attendees and their friends had felt concerned that by attending they might be perceived as victims of abuse. And it was suggested that on a number of occasions that if the words elder abuse hadn't been used in the promotional material, then people might have attended because they would feel too ashamed to acknowledge that elder abuse was happening to them. I'm going to skip over the evaluation because I really want to get on to shame and stigma, but the sessions were all evaluated and there was an increased awareness of elder abuse, which was the main aim. So we wanted to examine these things that had prevented people from attending. So shame is a painful social emotion that can be seen as resulting from the comparison of one's state of being with the standard social context. Stigma is a complex phenomenon associated with labelling, negative stereotypes, lack of knowledge, and distorted expectations. Most of the literature, when I looked it up, really discussed mental health, family violence, gambling and HIV, and a lot of it looks at culturally diverse people. So some of the quotes: cultural expectations around family privacy may prevent older people from recognising, disclosing or reporting abuse, particularly when it's perpetrated by family members. Fear of being shamed and excluded from their own communities may prevent people from accessing services. In Australia, when we looked at Arabic communities, they indicated that stigma was the most significant barrier to them accessing help due to the same shame of disclosing personal and family issues to outsiders. In some cultures and communities, shame about family problems may also be perceived to be a test or a punishment from God. Where immigrant women reported abuse, 70% felt shame on seeking help from formal services. And according to Yang et al., in Asian cultures, stigma threatens to break social connections and taints the entire social network for social and material support. So maintenance of the good name can be affected by one family member talking publicly about family things. And saving face was also a prominent theme in Chinese and Tamil communities. So what about some of the interventions? Some positive engagement strategies to lessen shame and stigma and to normalise issues coming out about elder abuse in communities. Providing informal access to relevant trained community leaders and encouraging those community leaders to speak out providing interventions in language of origin, and a lot of the sessions have talked about this sort of thing, providing practical assistance such as social groups so people don't become isolated, building in cultural strengths into interventions, providing community radio, community newspaper and local event materials so people are connected to their local communities. As one gentleman from one of our recent discussion forums with the Indian community said, "We know this problem, financial abuse, exists in the community, but people are so reticent to bring it up. I think we need to keep having these forums so people hear about it again and again and know they're not alone and know where they can go if they're ready for help." So one strategy that we often use to generate discussion around difficult issues like this is storytelling, because stories transcend culture and engage respectfully with communities. They paint a vivid picture of issues in a non-threatening way. They make us curious. They shape issues around something meaningful and make people care. They convey messages, and they're more memorable because they're about actions that somebody's taken about an issue. They give people an opportunity to reflect on their own concerns and perceptions. As Michael Kirby once said, the events and actions of one's life are experienced by the ongoing reconstruction of the life narrative. Among other strategies at the moment, Seniors' Rights Service is currently trialling the use of a video play of an elder abuse story. This is to generate discussion about the issues and is seen as a more accessible form of community engagement. We're also using radio and lots of other methods as well. So in summary, older people already suffer from ageism, which makes them feel stigmatised and affects their self-esteem. Let's work towards some positive ageing campaigns. Let's eliminate shame and stigma by continuing to use innovative strategies and talking to communities about what works for them in their community. And finally, let's keep talking about elder abuse so that we continue to raise awareness and options for assistance if people require it. Thank you.